Hello, Andrew. Hello, everybody. When you come on, please hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and hit the bell. Hello, friends. Hello, Barbara from Pennsylvania. Hello, Paul Wold. Looks like. Hello, Camilla. Hello, Karen from Kentucky. Hello, Stephen F. Hello, Randy. Steve in Memphis. Afton, Oklahoma in the house. Pennsylvania here. California in the house. I got the sweetest letter from a lady from California today. Union City, Tennessee. Washington State. Deb Stanhope. From Miami. Arkansas in the house. Hurricane, West Virginia in the house. Seems like I got something from Hurricane too. Pennsylvania, Quincy, Illinois in the house. Shreveport in the house. You hadn't had any more earthquakes, have you? Lisa from Washington State. Bushland, Texas. Ohio, Blue Springs, Mo. Northeast England. Justin, Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Center Alabama in the house. Hampton, Iowa. Lawn, Texas. North Carolina. Marshfield, Mo. The Blue Jays. Been there a few times. Okay. Greenfield, Mo. Been there a few times. That's on the other side of Willard. All right. Yeah, it's going so fast. I've got to. Somebody sent me something about how to slow it down. I got to get that figured out. Fred Vance. Welcome. Bristow, Oklahoma, welcome. Sergeant Bluff, Iowa, welcome. Binghamton, New York in the house. Milltown, New Jersey says, hello, Brad. Hello, Miss Deborah. Lakeside, California in the house. Longview, Washington. Nashville. We got people coming on here from all over. I'm telling you what, this is unbelievable. Savannah, Oklahoma. Say hello to me, says Serena Calderon. Well, hello. The Philippines. Wow. Slidell, other side of New Orleans, Louisiana. Lyle, Illinois in the house. Deborah from Georgia here. Lubbock, Texas. Brian. Joy. Missouri. Karen. Indiana. Sonny from New York, Stan, he says. Ripon, California. Gainesville, Texas. Do you know Jeff Smith? Of course, there's probably a few Jeff Smiths in Texas, but he was one of my best friends in graduate school down at Baylor. And, hey, MAGA chick. All right, Rhonda from Wichita, Kansas. Lisa Leith from North Carolina. New York in the house. Don and Shelley in Iowa. Good evening from Richmond, Kentucky. Bonita Springs, Florida. Black Rock, Arkansas. Anchorage, Alaska. That's the ways. Montana's in the house. Indiana, Pennsylvania. You got a school up there. I've heard of it. Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I've heard of them. I watched a tape by one of their coaches one time. Basketball. Donaldson, Florida. West Virginia. Four Rondas. Hawaii. Arizona. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Salina, Kansas. Grant City, Mo. Hutchinson, Kansas. Statesboro, Georgia. Montana. Today, says Angela Stewart. That's right. Today. Yep, sure is. Okay. Kingston in the house. Say hi to me from somewhere in Texas. Munster, Texas. That's not where the Munsters live, is it? Sedalia, Mo. Cisco, Texas. Been there before. That's way out in West Texas. Armory, Mississippi. Sedalia, Mo. Baton Rouge. Pittston, Pennsylvania. Ponchatoula, Louisiana. Levi's Stadium. Wow. People in San Francisco or San Jose or Santa Clara or wherever that place is. All right. Nebraska in the house. West Carrollton, Ohio. Corpus Christi, Texas. Sheila from Michigan. Hey from Maine, Jody. All right, Vegas, Tina. And they are coming in Melbourne, Australia. Hi from Longview, Texas. And the last one, New Jersey, James Meredith. All right, we got to get rolling. Okay, tonight's sponsor, El Matate, Mexican Restaurante here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. If you've never had El Matate's cheese dip, which I call queso, you are missing out on it. And they got pretty good sweet tea as well. I think that's my third one. I may have to go to the bathroom before I finish the show. Okay, all right. Yeah, somebody said, like my shirt, Loftus basketball. Yep, that's where I was the middle school coach. And so anyhow, all right. Well, listen, we're going to get started. If you can, we got 8,000 on here and we got 3,000 thumbs up. So hit the like button, the thumbs up button, hit that, hit the bell, and subscribe. Please do that now. Okay, take a second, do that now. We'll get started here. Let me say, first of all, I don't even know how to say it. Okay, I mean, this deal with the website stuff has just been unbelievable. Okay, bless them. That's all I can say. Okay, I mean, can you believe? You ought to know it happened to me. Okay, and I didn't even screw this up. I can't screw it up. I don't know how to use a website really. But first of all, we got on there. Everything's good to go, boy. Woo! And I'm getting emails like crazy, and it's saying we sent this email to Joe Blow, and it says you didn't fill out your you left your cart unattended or whatever. You need to come back and finish your deal. All right. And I mean, I'm getting hundreds of them. Okay. And then I'm getting these emails also from people that found my email address on there, and they're sending them to me, and they're saying, it said it won't deliver to Indianapolis. Hey, it said you don't deliver to my location. I live in Nashville. Hey, it said I don't deliver to where it won't. We don't deliver anywhere. Okay, so and then about the time we get that fixed, then all of a sudden, okay, hey, it won't take my credit card. It says it don't take Visa and Discover. And I had somebody else send me that they won't take MasterCard. I mean, holy cathedral. All right. I have spent all day on the phone back and forth with people trying to get this thing fixed. Okay. And I've just about pulled all my hair out. I still got a few left, but it wouldn't be the Brad Show without dadgum technical difficulties, now would it? Please stand by. Please stand by until tomorrow, and then we can fill your order, hopefully. Okay? So hopefully, by noon tomorrow, you're gonna be ready to go, ready for your gear. I know everybody wants to get the swag on, okay? And we're gonna have a lot of good stuff. We're not bringing it all out at once. We've got a lot of stuff that we're going to have on the site, but it's not going to all go out at one time. So just hang with me, okay? And use common sense. Let's get you a CS card, okay? And we'll be fine, okay? Trust me. I appreciate all of you guys being. You're so. I had a lot of people going. I just died out laughing, Brad. I got emails saying I just thought I was going to die. It was so funny. Okay. Yes, we're going to have some ball caps. We sure are. Because I had friend tell me today, my gosh, you need a new one. But, it's just a guy with his cap. He likes a cap. And once you get used to it on your head, it kind of, you get cap head, you see, and you kind of like it that way. So that's the deal. Yeah, we might sell some CS cards. That's a good idea, lady. Okay, so that's the deal there. All right, now, for tonight's show, let's get into it, okay? There's going to be two things I'm going to show you. The first one, I'm going to read this to you, okay? In fact, what I may do is, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to turn it around where you can read it with me, okay? And the second one is it's just about a 10-minute video, but it's going to really, I feel, explain, all the stuff we've been talking about the last 2 nights, okay? And the Robert Horton and all of that stuff and how it's really deep and hard to understand. Well, I had someone, I saw that. Somebody said, Whiplash referenced you today, Brad. Again today? I knew he referenced me yesterday. I don't know who Mr. Whiplash is, but salute Whiplash on Telegram. He's got about 100,000 followers. Maybe I can get in touch with him, get him on the show. So here's the thing. I want to, but this other video I'm going to show you, I think it really goes a long way as far as understanding what Robert Horton was talking about. I'm excited for you to see it. Okay. So, but first I want to go here. All right. So let me turn this around because I want you to again, I've been saying all along, you have to understand what Trump's up against. Okay. And it's not, you have to understand this. Okay. People think it's so easy. All he's got to do is just, my gosh, can't he just take them down? Well, hold on. Okay. Now, this is an article, okay, from the last, it's from the conservativetreehouse.com a few days ago, the conservativetreehouse.com. Prescient diatribe, as true today as it was in 1976. Okay, it starts off this, April the 1st, 2021. Y'all are smart. You are part of the 3% who really understand. Consider, if you will, the backdrop of current U.S. politics, the influence of Wall Street, and the multinationals who align with globalism. The reality of K Street lobbyists writing the physical legislation that politicians sell to Americans, and then overlay what you are witnessing as those same multinationals now attack the foundation of our constitutional republic. Think about the bigger picture, the progressive picture, the ultimate goal, and the explanation of my oft-mentioned catchphrase, there are trillions at stake. Then perhaps, just perhaps, take a few minutes to rewatch this segment from a movie circa 1976, replace Ned Beatty with Donald Trump. The issues are identical. It has been thus since the rise of the multinationals. Okay, now I'm going to only show a few minutes of this, and I'm going to put the link in the box. Okay, but because I don't want to get flagged by YouTube for whatever. Okay, so I'm going to only show a little clip here and there. Okay, but then I'm going to get to reading the rest of the article.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature, Mr. Beale, and I won't have it. Is that clear? You think you merely stopped a business deal? That is not the case. The Arabs have taken billions of dollars out of this country, and now they must put it back.
Okay, now I'm going to skip around here a little bit simply to try to avoid the, continuous, if you go so long that it picks it up or whatever. Okay.
Terms of nations and peoples. There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West. There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immane, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars. Petrodollars,
he goes on to say rubles, dollars, petrodollars, all these things. And basically what he's saying is it's all, there are no nations anymore. It's all multinational companies. Okay? Now, I'm going to move on from this, and you need to watch this when we get done, okay? And again, I'll put the link there. It's only 5 minutes. But again, I don't want to get flagged by YouTube, okay? So here we go. Recently, there have been many critics of President Trump. And this guy down here talking on the video was talking to what would be President Trump. He's getting on him. Many people proclaiming that President Trump did not do enough to block, impede, stop, and counteract the globalist forces that are aligned against his efforts to make America great again. There are people who proclaim that Donald J. Trump should have been more wise in his counsel, more selective in his cabinet. Let me be clear. Now, let me be clear real quick. If you are responding to an intelligent person on here tonight, you are going to miss everything here. I'm asking you for once, do not let MAGA chick take care of them. Do not worry about those people, okay? Pay attention or you're going to get lost here. And this is real important. Okay, this is a learning one tonight, along with the other video I'm fixing to show you that's a bomb. Okay, I will never join that crew of Trump critics because I understand his adversary. I understand the scope of the enemy, the scale of the war, the financial and economic power of the opposition, and the effort it will take to stop decades of willful blindness amid 97% of the American people. I also see exactly what they're doing now, even with Trump forcefully removed from office to destroy the threat he still represents. President Donald Trump is a walking red pill, a touchstone, a visible empirical test or criterion for determining the quality of genuineness of anything political. I have been deep enough into the network of the deep state to understand the scale and scope of this enemy, to think that President Trump alone could carry the burden of correcting 4 decades of severe corruption of all things political without simultaneously considering the scale of the opposition is naive in the extreme. President Trump was disrupting the global order of things in order to protect and preserve the shrinking interests of the U.S. He was fighting almost single-handed at the threshold of the abyss. Our American interest, our MAGAnomic position was and is essentially zero-sum. His D.C. and Wall Street aligned opposition needed to repel and retain the status quo. They desperately wanted him removed so they could return to full economic control over the U.S. because it's their foundation of their power. Okay? You want to criticize him for fighting harder against those interests than any single man has ever done before him? If so, do it without me. I am thankful for the awakening Donald J. Trump has provided. I am thankful now for the opportunity to fight with people who finally understand the scale of our opposition. Without Trump, these entities would still be operating in the shadows. With Donald J. Trump, we can clearly see who the real enemy is now. In these economic endeavors, President Trump was disrupting decades of financial schemes established to use the U.S. as a host for their endeavors. Trump was confronting multinational corporations and the global constructs of economic systems that were put in place to the detriment of us, the USA. There are trillions at stake. It is all about the economics. It's all about a dollar. Everything else is chaff and countermeasures. The road to a service-driven economy is paved with a great disparity between financial classes. The wealth gap is directly related to the inability of the middle class to thrive. Elite financial interests, including those within D.C., gain wealth and power. The U.S. workforce is reduced to service of their affluent needs. The destruction of the U.S. industrial and manufacturing base is exactly why the middle class has struggled and exactly why the wealth gap exploded in the past 30 years. Behind this dynamic, we find the international corporate and financial interests who are inherently at risk from President Trump's America First economic and trade platform. Believe it or not, Trump is up against an entire world economic establishment. When we understand how trade works in the modern era, we understand why the agents within the system are so adamantly opposed to Trump. The biggest lie in modern economics, willingly spread and maintained by the corporate media, is that a system of global markets still exists. It doesn't. Every element of global economic trade is controlled and exploited by massive institutions, multinational banks, and multinational corps. Institutions like the WTO and the World Bank control trillions of dollars in economic activity. Under that economic activity, there are people who hold the reins of power over the outcomes. These individuals and groups are the stakeholders in direct opposition to the principles of America First, national economics, collectively known as the Big Club, quote. The modern financial constructs of these entities have been established over the course of the past 3 decades. When you understand how they manipulate the economic system of individual nations, you begin to understand why they're so fundamentally opposed to Trump. In the Western world, separate from communist control perspectives, i.e. China, quote unquote, global markets are a modern myth. Nothing more than a talking point meant to keep people satiated with sound bites they might find familiar. Global markets have been destroyed over the past 3 decades by multinational corporations who control the products formerly contained within global markets. Now, just hang with me. They'll start making sense to you in just a minute if you're a little lost. The same is true for commodities markets. The multinational trade and economic system run by corporations and multinational banks now controls the product outputs of independent nations. The free market economic system has been usurped by entities who create what is best described as, quote, controlled markets. Okay? Crony capitalism, in other words. U.S. President Trump understood what had taken place. He used economic leverage as part of a broader national security policy, and to understand who opposes Trump, specifically because of the economic leverage he creates, it becomes important to understand the objectives of the global and financial elite, okay, who run and operate the institutions or the big club. Understand how trillions of trade dollars influence geopolitical policy, we begin to understand the 3-decade global financial construct they seek to retain and protect. That is global financial exploitation of national markets. And there's 4 basic elements, he says. Number 1, multinational corporations purchase controlling interests in various national outputs, harvests and raw materials, and ancillary industries of developed industrial Western nations. Number 2, the multinational corporations making the purchases are underwritten by massive global financial institutions, multinational banks. Note, in China, it's the communist government underwriting the purchase. The multinational banks and the multinational corporations then utilize lobbying interests to manipulate the internal political policy of the targeted nation. With control over the targeted nation's industry or interest, the multinationals then leverage export of the national asset through trade agreements structured to the benefit of lesser developed nations where they have previously established a proactive financial footprint. Now, if you're lost here, hang with me again. It's kind of deep, but they're going to get to explain it a little bit better here. Against the backdrop of President Trump confronting China and against the backdrop of NAFTA renegotiated, and against the necessary need to support the key U.S. steel and aluminum industries, revisiting the economic influences within the modern import-export dynamic will help conceptualize the issue at the heart of the matter. There are a myriad of interests within each trade sector that make specific explanation very challenging. However, here's the basic outline. Here it is. For 3 decades, globalism, which we have been shoved down our throat, okay, globalism has advanced quickly. Everyone accepts this statement, yet few actually stop to ask who and what are behind this and why. Influential people with vested financial interests in the process have sold a narrative that global manufacturing, global sourcing, and global production was the inherent way of the future. The same voices claimed the American economy was consigned to become a service-driven economy. What was always missed in these discussions is that advocates selling this global economy message have a vested financial and ideological interest in convincing the information consumer it is all just a natural outcome of economic progress. Well, guess what? It's not. It's not natural at all. It's a process that's entirely controlled, promoted, and utilized by large conglomerates, lobbyists, purchase politicians, and massive financial corporations. Follow the money, people. Again, I'll try to retain the larger altitude perspective without falling into the traps of the esoteric weeds. I freely admit this is tough to explain and I may not be successful. Bullet point number 1, multinational corporations purchase controlling interest in various national elements of developed industrial Western nations. Okay, so this is perhaps the most challenging to understand. In essence, thanks specifically to the way the WTO was established, national companies expanded their influence into multiple nations across a myriad of industries and economic sectors. This is the basic underpinning of national companies becoming multinational corporations. Think of these multinational corporations as global entities now powerful enough to reach into multiple nations simultaneously. This is the basic, and purchase controlling interest in a single economic commodity. A historic reference point might be the original multinational enterprise, energy via oil production, Exxon, Mobil, BP. However, in the modern global world, it's not just oil. The resource and product procurement extends to virtually every possible commodity and industry, from the very visible wheat and corn to the obscure small minerals and even flowers. Bullet number 2, the multinational corporations making the purchases are underwritten by massive global financial institutions or multinational banks. Okay, so for instance, it says during the past several decades, national companies merged. The largest lemon producer company in Brazil merges with the largest lemon company in Mexico, merges with the largest lemon company in Argentina, merges with the largest lemon company in the U.S., etc., etc. National companies, formerly of one nation, become, quote, continental companies with control over an entire continent of nations. Okay, now what I'm going to do right here, because this is, again, it's very deep. I'm going to skip down here a little bit. Okay, number 3, bullet point, right here. Okay, the multinational banks and the multinational corporations then utilize lobbying interest. In other words, they pay people. Okay, see the handshake with the money? They pay people to manipulate the internal political policy of the targeted nation. These lobbyists, okay, it's all about the money, okay? With control of the majority of actual lemons, the multinational corporation now holds a different set of financial values than a local farmer or national market. This is why commodities exchanges are essentially dead, okay? Instead of the traditional supply-demand equation determining prices, the corporations look to see what nations can afford what prices. The supply of the controlled product is then distributed to the country according to their ability to afford the price. This is essentially the bastardized and political function of the WTO. This is also how the corporations controlling WTO policy maximize profits. Okay, so I'm going to, for sake of time, okay, I'm going to go down here to the last bullet point. With control over the targeted national industry or interest, the multinationals then leverage export of the national asset through trade agreements structured to the benefit of lesser developed nation states where they have previously established a proactive financial footprint. The process of charging the U.S. consumer more for a product that under normal national market conditions would cost less is a process called exfiltration of wealth. This is the basic premise, the cornerstone behind the catchphrase globalism. In other words, take your money and get it somewhere else. Okay? This is never discussed. Okay? Look at this. To control the market price, some contracted product may even be secured and shipped with the intent to allow it to sit idle or rot. It's all about controlling the price and maximizing the profit equation. To gain the same dollar profit, a multinational might have to sell 20 widgets in El Salvador at 25 cents each, or 2 widgets in the U.S. at $2.50 each. Okay, now again, I'm going to skip on down through here, and I'm just going to let you finish the rest of it later. I'll give you it's going to make more sense after you watch the video. Okay, here's what this guy said. It's not enough to simply beat Trump. He must be destroyed thoroughly. His kind must not rise again. Okay? Well, they've got a rude awakening coming, don't they? All right? And so now I want to get over here now. And I'll put this in I highly suggest you go and watch this little video right here. It will make a lot of sense to you. Okay? And I'll put this is the conservativetreehouse.com. Okay? Now, I want to get to what I'm excited to show you. Okay? And that's this. I had a lady send this to me today, and it is very strong. Okay, so let me back it up a hair here. Now, this is going to help explain what we watched the last 2 nights, but you're going to have to listen closely. Here we go.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth?
I don't think my speaker's working. Hang on. I mean, what's the show without technical difficulties? It's a brand new speaker, too. I think it's the person running it. Let's see. Oh, I guess it times out after a while or something. Okay, here we go.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
This is a little clip off the Matrix.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
Yeah, you comment it's kind of fuzzy. It's because it's the actual film that they have here on YouTube of it. Okay, so it's not my camera or anything.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Follow me.
A common misconception among people is that any rule or regulation that governs them falls under one category, law. But there are many other forms of law that people abide by without realizing that they simply do not apply to them.
Listen closely.
Another misconception is that a nation's constitution gives us our rights. A constitution does nothing more than list the rights that we already have. We are born with inalienable rights, endowed to us by our Creator. They are not given to us, and they cannot be given away. The most a person can do with a right is choose whether to exercise it or not. Maritime admiralty law is what's known as the law of the water. It is superseded by civil law and only applies to those who willingly contract themselves into it. The definition of admiralty law is a body of private international law.
I'm gonna rewind that. I want you to hear this again.
And
Listen
only
to this.
applies to what's known as choose whether to exercise it or not.
Listen to this.
Maritime admiralty law is what's known as the law of the water. It is superseded by civil law and only applies to those who willingly contract themselves into it. The definition of admiralty law is a body of private international law governing the relationships between private entities which operate vessels on the oceans. Let's Let's look at how and why a form of law that is fashioned to govern corporations, businesses, and vessels has imposed its rule over natural human beings. This is all done through a form of word magic. A simple perversion of language has made it possible to convince people around the world that these alternative laws apply to them. One of the predominant beliefs in modern culture is that licenses, permits, registrations, and other forms of documentation are required to operate motor vehicles, use public roads, build structures and establishments, engage in free enterprise, and much more. Sadly, these beliefs are based on little to no investigation whatsoever, and are false. This belief structure is perpetuated by maritime admiralty law. This form of law was originally created to govern ships docking in foreign nations for the import or export of products and resources. It deals with banking and merchant affairs, not civil affairs. When a product is taken off of a ship and brought into a foreign land, that nation takes custody of the resource and accounts for it with a certificate. That certificate marks the birth date of that product in the custody of the respective nation.
Okay, now I'm going to rewind this because this was big to me. I want to make sure you catch this. There's some few things here I want to make sure you catch. All right, now listen to this right here. Hear it again. It's talking about when a product comes into a nation.
Sources. It deals with banking and merchant affairs, not civil affairs. When a product is taken off of a ship and brought into a foreign land, that nation takes custody of the resource and accounts for it with a certificate. That certificate marks the birth date of that product in the custody of the respective nation. Think of why it is supposedly required to have a certificate of live birth in the first place. The Barron's Dictionary of Banking Terms defines a certificate as a paper establishing an ownership claim. So right there, we notice that everyone with a birth certificate is defined as being owned. People are used as collateral with other nations because the U.S. is bankrupt. The United States declared bankruptcy on March 9th of 1933. At this point, the U.S. began taking out loans from a private, non-government affiliated corporation called the Federal Reserve. With no money to pay back the loans, the United States began using the citizens as collateral.
Did you just hear that? Here it is again, listen.
To pay back the loans, the corporation called the Federal Reserve. With no money to pay back the loans, the United States began using the citizens as collateral. All birth and marriage certificates are literally warehouse receipts. Just look at the similarities of warehouse receipts and birth certificates. Both document the date of issue, a serial number, registration number or receipt number, a description of the product, and an authorized informant to notify the appropriate government agency. With all of this information being readily available, the majority of people are unaware of their involvement with maritime admiralty law. This is possible through the manipulation of language. This admiralty law changed the meaning of the word person from a natural living person to a corporation. Driver's licenses, vehicle registrations, auto insurance forms, building permits, gun permits, work permits, tax filing documents, birth and death certificates, traffic citations, and many other forms of documentation that were once believed to be absolutely necessary only applied to persons or corporations. Upon signing such a legal document, you are indirectly waiving your rights under the Constitution and lowering your status to that of a corporation that is created with the same exact name as you. The only way to reconcile your true name from the name of the corporation is to take notice that the corporation has its name in all capital letters. This is known as capitis diminutia maxima. You may take notice that your driver's license, birth certificate, social security card, insurance cards, and more use all capital letters to legally represent the corporation with your name, not you. The corporation is known as an artificial person, whereas you, the human being, are known as a natural person. This deception goes even deeper when it comes to the courts that we attend. When showing up to court, you will notice that there are seats for witnesses behind a wooden fence or barrier. The defendant must cross through the entrance to the other side of the barrier where the plaintiff and judge sit. This act symbolizes the boarding of a ship. At this time, business can be conducted in maritime admiralty law. The judge, acting as captain or banker, is responsible for settling the balance between the two sides. This is why there is always a monetary value involved in any court case. The captain is simply dealing with banking and merchant disputes. Once the balance is paid, the case is closed. To turn the court case away from admiralty law where your rights are not protected, you must avoid agreeing to represent the artificial person. This is done by stating that you are the natural person. You don't have a first or last name because those imply corporate title. In a court case, you may state that the court takes judicial notice of your honor's oath of office. Every judge must take an oath of office to practice law. Yet you must make it clear to the court and the jury that the judge is acting as judge and not banker. Remember that you are a natural human being of the earth. You are not governed by anything but your own consciousness. Laws are created within a society. The society that created the laws we see being enforced today is called the Law Society. Yet the most beautiful part of this entire deception is the fact that we are not part of the Law Society, so their laws do not apply to us.
Judges, lawyers, and law enforcement officers, they're all part of a society. Within that society, they've created their own language that's deceptively similar to English. They have these little things called statutes, acts, and regulations that seem like laws, but they really only apply to those within their society. So that basically means all the traffic violations, minimum age requirements, and everything except for damage to another person or their property doesn't really apply to the natural person.
Laws only apply to those within the Law Society. The game being played is an illusion. You can simply choose to open your eyes and reclaim the freedom that you were born with, bound by nothing but the limits of your imagination. These are just a few examples of assuring that your rights are being protected. By far, the most important line of defense against this deception is to be aware of the perversion of language, and be absolutely aware of how you form your beliefs and concepts.
Says in religion and politics, people's beliefs and convictions are in almost every case gotten at second hand and without examination from authorities who have not themselves examined the questions at issue, but have taken them at second hand from other non-examiners whose opinions about them were not worth a brass farthing, whatever that is. Mark Twain. Okay, so again, I had that sent to me from a friend. I think you're starting to see a lot of the stuff that we're up against and that Trump is trying to bring down. Or not trying, he is bringing it down. But I want you to understand, it's not some just overnight, okay, somebody said farthing equals money. So we're not worth a brass money, brass coin or whatever. This is deep, man. This stuff is deep, okay? And I've also learned that looks like there's another boat stuck in the Suez Canal. I've also heard that there was about half and half dead people pulled off of there, off of the Evergreen, and live people. People are still alive. Everybody, please, before we go here, please X out of the chat and hit the thumbs up button. We're at 6,000 and we got over 13,000 on here. So hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and hit the bell, please. Okay? And so anyway, but I also, there's lots of things moving around military bases right now. And something is up, and it's going to be good for us. Let me just tell you. Okay. And again, I won't get into too much more of it because I haven't researched it enough, and I want to make sure I'm giving you the right information. Okay. I will put the link to both this video and the article in the, I guess what's called the description box right below where I put the title of it. Okay. So anyway, so go to, again, tomorrow you'll be able to get your gear, your swag, and hopefully, okay, I will make a post on Facebook and MeWe and Twitter. I will also probably come on and do a little, just a short live, either here or in one of those places, letting everybody know that, hey, it's up and running. So if you don't get an email back from me, all those ones that tried to buy something and couldn't, don't worry about it. It's going to be up and running hopefully tomorrow, and we're going to get you set, okay? So today's not today, but tomorrow is going to be today, okay? Tomorrow today, all right? All right, let's pray. All right, dear God, thank you for tonight. Thank you for another day to live for you, Lord. Thank you for each of these precious people on here tonight, God. I ask that you would bless them. Lord, even bless the people that are the haters on here. Open their eyes to the truth. Lord, help them to not only come to the side of understanding conservatism, but more importantly, coming to know you as their Lord and Savior, Jesus. And God, I thank you for salvation. I thank you for our country. I thank you for President Trump. I thank you for what you're doing here amongst us. And this is a time of trial. This is a time of, we've got to have patience and have faith and have courage and strength to withstand the onslaught of the enemy and for it to be exposed. Help us to do that, God. Give us peace that passes understanding that only you can give. Pray you build a hedge of protection around the president and his family and his men, the people in his inner circle. Give them, Lord, as we always ask, supernatural wisdom and protection, guidance, and courage. God, I pray that you would bring the evil ones down. Use President Trump. Use his insiders, his people, to finish this job that you've put him, we believe, on earth to do. And that's to take out this evil cabal. And God, will give you all the praise and the glory, for it's not President Trump that's God. He's just used by you, just a man, just like you, all of us. But God, it's you that deserve all the glory. But you use men and women to help get your will done here on earth. And we thank you for that. We love you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. All right, guys. Have a great night. God bless you. And again, get ready tomorrow. We should be good to go. All right. Good night from Chattanooga, Tennessee. This is Brad signing off.